Put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
Hello, welcome to another episode of In the Trenches with Gang Green. I'm your host, Bubbs. Today is Wednesday, August 13th. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far today. This is episode 600 of the In the Trenches with Gang Green podcast. I thank you, as always, for joining me. For those tuning in on YouTube, make sure to please like and subscribe. Of course, appreciate all of those tuning in on all the different audio podcast platforms. And today we have another New York Jets player preview to discuss in today's podcast. You know the drill. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday throughout training camp, we take a look at two players, one on the offensive side of the football and the other on the defensive side of the football. Today is our 11th installment of the 2025 New York Jets player preview series. And in this Wednesday edition, on the offensive side of the football, we're going to take a look at center Joe Tippmann. And on the defensive side of the football, we're going to take a look at defensive end Micheal Clemons a little bit later on. But as we always do, we start with the offense, and that means we start with Joe Tippmann entering his third season in the NFL. Of course, all three here coming with the New York Jets. 24 years old, was a 2023 second-round pick, of course, 43rd overall selection by the Jets out of Wisconsin. 6'6", 313 pounds. And it has been an interesting last couple months for Joe Tippmann, and definitely an interesting and a big season coming up. I still believe a very big season coming up for Joe Tippmann here in 2025 as a key piece for this New York Jets offense, and more specifically, a key piece, a key cog at the center position for this New York Jets offensive line, with the identity of this team should be the strength of the offensive line and, of course, their ability to run the football. And a lot of that hinders on the success of players like Joe Tippmann and the rest of that unit up front doing their job from a run blocking perspective. But when you look at Joe Tippmann's career so far, right, you look at his rookie season and played 16 games, 14 starts, mixed in a little bit at center, saw some time as well at guard. And then you went into last year, he was the team's full-time center and played really well. Had a very, very good season in year two. You saw a really nice year two jump. You saw what you wanted to see out of Joe Tippmann in year number 2 last year, right? We talk about all the bad things that happened with the Jets last year. Joe Tippmann and a few others up front on that offensive line were one of the lone bright spots for this New York Jets team in what was, of course, a brutal nightmare 2024 season. Tippmann was one of the lone bright spots. And now you enter year 3 and you expect another jump, and now you expect Joe Tippmann and potentially project Joe Tippmann here to reach another level where he's viewed by many as already a top 8 to 10 center in the NFL. Now you wonder, can he get into that top 7 range? Can he solidify himself in that top 5 range, or at least on the cusp of it here in 2025? And what's interesting about Joe Tippmann, and what makes you question it a bit, is the center competition. Over the last couple months, you've heard all about the Josh Myers, Joe Tippmann center competition. You guys know I don't talk much about training camp in these episodes. We focus more on the season and projecting, but it's a battle, of course, going on in training camp, and it's something that Aaron Glenn has talked a lot about. I still am in the boat, though, that Joe Tippmann is going to be this team's starting center week number 1. I'm not buying into Josh Myers being this team's week 1 center for a couple different reasons. Number one, I just don't think it's smart. And really, number one is really just number one. I don't think it's smart because Joe Tippmann's just the better player. That's flat out, plain and simple. The numbers back it up. You watch the two play. Is Josh Myers a good center? Is he a good depth piece that could play center and guard? Yes. Is he a starting center on a team that has Joe Tippmann on it? No. Joe Tippmann's better, and that's clear. And Joe Tippmann, I believe, enters a season here where in this offense and in a certain area of this offense, which we'll get to here in a second, he fits in perfectly to what this New York Jets team wants to do when it comes to running the football. And I believe he's in for a breakout season. One of the couple of breakout candidates on the offensive side of the football, in my opinion, is Joe Tippmann this year. I think there's a real chance he takes himself from that number 9, number 10 center in football to let's get to number 7, let's get to number 6, let's get to number 5, maybe even inside that. That's how much I expect a big year from Tippmann here in year number 3 after what we saw last year and how he fits into what this Jets offense wants to do here in 2025. When you look at his numbers last season, 17 games played, 1,067 total snaps, 355 came run blocking, 712 came pass blocking. He had a 73.4 overall grade, a 77.3 run blocking grade, and a 63.1 pass block grade. 5 sacks allowed, 23 pressures, a 97.9 pass block efficiency, and a 3.44% pressure rate allowed. To give you some rankings on some of these numbers. So not only was his overall grade, his run block grade and pass block grade all career highs, all better than what he did in year number 1. On top of that, his overall grade at 73.4 ranked 9th in the NFL among qualified centers, and his 77.3 run blocking grade, one of the most impressive aspects of his season last year, ranked 8th among qualified centers in the NFL during the 2024 campaign. On top of that, his 97.9 pass block efficiency was 17th, and his 3.44% pressure rate was 13th. The New York Jets, when you take into account pressure rate, pass block efficiency, the other grading metrics, run block, pass block, overall grade, and you take Simpson, Tippmann, and AVT, your 2 guards and your center from last year, and you put those guys together, you have one of the best interiors in the NFL, and frankly, one of the more underrated interiors in the NFL. Another reason why you just keep Joe Tippmann at center, and he should be this team's starting center, because the age-old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This is a unit that had success last year, and now you look for an even bigger year here in 2025. And I think what's most important with Joe Tippmann, because the strength is the run blocking. There's still some room for improvement from a pass blocking perspective, right? The 63.1 pass block grade was average. It was right in the middle among qualified centers last year. His pass block efficiency was inside the top 20, and his pressure rate was also top 15. So the pass blocking metrics grade out a little bit better when you take into the pass block efficiency and the pressure rate, as opposed to just the raw pass blocking grade. But still, the run blocking is his strength. And when you look at this Jets team, the identity is running the football. When you take a look at the Jets and some of the schematic things that you expect them to implement this year, Joe Tippmann fits into that equation perfectly. And I want to give you these numbers. The Detroit Lions, Tanner Engstrand, of course, where he's coming from, his background, had the 4th highest outside zone run rate in 2025. The 4th highest in the NFL. So top 5 in outside zone run rate. Joe Tippmann has success in this area. He has had a 92.9 run block grade since his middle of his rookie year, so middle of the 2023 season, and taking into account all of last year, he has had a 92.9 run block grade on outside zone runs. Why is that important? Because you're going to see a lot of that with this Jets team this year. And Tippmann has shown the ability throughout his first 2 years to have success blocking that type of run play and fitting into that type of run scheme. And that's another reason where you have high expectations for him. He fits into and has success into what this offense could potentially do and what this offensive line is going to need to do to have success and lead the way for these running backs. So I really do. Maybe I'm higher on him than some, but I really do believe this is a big year for Tippmann. I really do. He's one of my breakout candidates. I had a breakout candidate episode out a little while ago before camp started, and he was on the list. From an offensive breakout perspective, I think he's right there. I think he's number 9, number 10 right now in the NFL, right on the cusp of the top 10. I think after this year, he easily inserts himself right in the middle of the top 10 and takes that big year 3 jump, because you already saw the type of jump he took last year. You look at just some of the grades, as I mentioned, the 77.3 run block grade, the 63.1 pass block grade, and the 73.4 overall grade. You look at his 2023 grades, he was a 61 overall, 52.7 pass block, 67.4 run block. So all of those, not saying he was bad in his rookie year, but it was clear the jump he took last year. And now you look forward to that again. And a lot of what the Jets are going to do from a run game perspective, Tippmann does well. Not just the zone runs, but just the simple fact that he is a mauler in the run game. The penalties also dropped off last year, too, for Tippmann. And you'd like to see them maybe even dip a bit more, but he had 8 penalties in his rookie year. And that was only with 14 starts in 16 games. Last year, 17 starts, 17 games, he only had 4 penalties. So it dropped 4, which is important as well. So that's Joe Tippmann. I expect a big year, and he is this team's starting center, in my opinion. And I'd still be shocked if that's not the case, because it, of course, has to be a part of this discussion. So now we move on now to the defensive side of the football, and we take a look at Micheal Clemons, entering year 4 at 27 years old, although he'll be 28 on August 21st. So when week 1 rolls around, Micheal Clemons will be entering his 4th season and his age 28 season. Of course, a 2022 4th-round pick, 117th overall, selected by the Jets out of Texas A&M, 6'5", 263 pounds. And yes, we're doing a Micheal Clemons player preview. We go through a list. We go through a ton of different Jets, starters, depth pieces, and we're breaking down Micheal Clemons. And I will just flat out say this. I'm tired of Micheal Clemons. I don't believe in Micheal Clemons. And I think most Jet fans are in the same boat. Some of you that clicked on this video, you're probably really questioning the Micheal Clemons player preview. But this is a guy that, despite the fan outrage, despite anybody watching this guy play, you should assume he should not still be on this roster. Despite all of that, it looks like he's going to stick around for a 4th year. Aaron Glenn has spoke highly of him. He has noted that he needs to fix the penalties, and there is room for improvement. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. And Steve Wilkes has also gone out of his way to praise Micheal Clemons a little bit from what he's seen from a training camp perspective. But I still have no belief in Micheal Clemons. However, this is a coaching staff that is putting a heavy emphasis on coaching. When you look at some of these positions, they clearly believe that they can get more out of certain guys in certain position groups. There's certain position groups you look on this Jets team right now, and they look a little thin. And I think this coaching staff looks at it and says, we can get more out of these guys and turn it more into a strength because of our coaching. And that feels like the way they view Micheal Clemons. They see the first 3 years, they see the amount of dumb penalties, undisciplined football, and just flat out bad play on the field. Forget the penalties, forget the undisciplined football. He's not any good. He stinks against the run, And he doesn't provide much as a pass rusher either. And last year, in his big opportunity from a snaps perspective, he played a ton and he still stunk. It was his worst season. But this is clearly a staff that sees him as a depth option that if they can try and shake the undisciplined, dumb penalties out of him, learn how to stop the run, learn how to hold the edge, set the edge, you can maybe get something out of him. I doubt it's going to happen, but that's kind of where you think the thought process is when you look at Micheal Clemons and why he is still on this team after 49 games of essentially garbage in every single one of those games. And why I say almost is because his rookie year actually wasn't bad. When you look at his rookie season, his 2022 season, he came on in a rotational role and was actually a solid piece. Was he elite? No. But for a fourth-round pick, he showed you some potential that you could be at least a little bit excited about going into 2023 and beyond. He had a 78.7 overall grade, a 58.6 pass rush grade, and more importantly, which is what we're going to get into here furthermore in this player preview, just his ability to stop the run, how it's fallen off a cliff, 86.4 run defense grade. All of those were career highs, and his 78.7 overall grade that year ranked 23rd out of 119 qualified defensive ends. He was top 25 in that category. That's very notable for a rookie who was a day 3 pick. But ever since then, it's been all downhill. He has not done, I can't think of one thing that Micheal Clemons has done that has helped this team in a game over the last 2 years. All you can think of is the bad. And I'm not being dramatic. It's the truth. When this guy is on the field, he has been a complete zero. A complete zero. I talk about the penalties, but it's not just that. It's also just the penalties that he takes. It's not like it's whatever, a hold or, it's not like it's in game, in the live play penalty. It's a lot of after the play, extracurricular, late hits, or unsportsmanlike, getting in the fights. That's Micheal Clemons' game, and that kills you as a football team when you have those undisciplined after the play penalties, with Glenn, of course, is trying to shake out of this team and is trying to shake out of Micheal Clemons. I do have to bring up, though, one preseason game, Micheal Clemons already was getting into a fight, and he got pulled off the field, and that's the right thing to do. That can't happen, though. And I just think we've gotten to the point with Micheal Clemons where it's just who he is. I don't know if there's any shaking free of that. And I also don't know, okay, let's say he cleans up the penalties. I also don't think he's even that good. He was okay his rookie year. Ever since then, he's stunk. It's been more bad than good, and even the good wasn't that good, if that makes sense. 2023 was nothing. 2024 was even worse. You look at what he did last year. 17 games, 17 starts. That is just disgusting to look at, that Micheal Clemons started all 17 games for this football team last year. Big reason why they went 5-12. 624 total snaps played. That was 54% of the defensive snaps. By far the most he's ever played in his 3 seasons. 288 of those came against the run, 333 against the pass. 34 tackles, 4.5 sacks, 23 pressures, 4 tackles for loss, 8 QB hits, 14 quarterback hurries. Those are just some of these simple box score numbers. However, you dig deeper, this is really where it gets ugly. He had a 50.6 Pro Football Focus overall grade last year. That was 114th out of 119 qualified edge rushers. He was bottom 5 in overall grade last year out of qualified defensive ends in the NFL. He was in the 100s, 114th out of 119. That is not a lie. He also had a 55.2 pass rush grade and a 46.6 run defense grade, both career worsts. The overall grade was also a career worst. And to just show you how far he's fallen from a run defense perspective, because 2023 he wasn't good, but he wasn't that bad like he was in 2024. 2022, he had an 86.4 run defense grade. I mentioned that earlier on. Last year's 46.6, that's a 39.8 difference. 2023 was at 66.3, 19.7 decrease. And that is terrible. That is so alarming from Micheal Clemons. The amount of times we saw Micheal Clemons last year, and this is where the numbers are bad, but I really think the eye test is even worse with Micheal Clemons. And I'm going to handpick a couple games from last year where he killed the Jets with his inability to set the edge. And unfortunately, his just low football IQ to bite on so many read options, so many quarterback runs where he bit to the running back, got faked out, and the quarterback took it as a keeper, and Micheal Clemons wasn't there to set the edge. I take a look at the Cardinals game. That disaster. Kyler Murray keeps it. Micheal Clemons bites. Nobody's there on the edge. Kyler Murray rushes for a touchdown. He had a big day that day. Micheal Clemons was nowhere to be seen. Nowhere to be seen. And they kept running his way. That's another thing. He's such a liability. Teams just target him. They run his way because they know he stinks. I look at the Bills game. Crucial 3rd and 4 late in the game. Josh Allen, read option, keeps it. Micheal Clemons bites. Wide open, first down. Game over. Game over. Crucial moments. Micheal Clemons, nowhere to be seen. Colts game, late in the game. Anthony Richardson keeps it. Micheal Clemons bites. Nobody there. So the stats were bad, but you go back, and you know it's bad when you can just remember these plays off the top of your head. The Cardinals game was one of the most notable because that was such a disgusting game. And that Kyler Murray play was just kind of went viral with how bad it was for Micheal Clemons. And at that point in the year, we were all fed up, right? That was one of the ugliest, especially because it resulted in a touchdown. And those were just a couple examples. There's so many more. And the proof to back this up, so every week, Pro Football Focus lists their lowest graded players on each team out of each game. So Micheal Clemons last year, I wanted to read you all 5 games and just show you how much of a net negative Micheal Clemons was. Week 2 against the Titans, he had a 51.5 PFF grade. That was 4th worst on the Jets that week. Week 4 against the Broncos, 50.4 Pro Football Focus grade. That was worst on the team. Week 5 against the Vikings, 48.3, 2nd worst. Week 6 against the Bills, 50.8, 4th worst. Week 9 against the Texans, 48, worst on the team. So that just shows you, too, taking in every player on defense, how many times Micheal Clemons was the worst player on the field, or at least close to the worst player on the field week in and week out. And the sad part is they kept rolling him out there like nothing was wrong. And the undisciplined penalties, the after the play penalties, the unsportsmanlike conducts, the getting into fights, all of that nonsense is excruciating as well. When you stink at stopping the run, you don't provide much from a pass rushing perspective, and then you follow that up with the dumb penalties. I mean, heck, he got ejected in the Black Friday game against the Dolphins. The Fail Mary game, that disaster. Micheal Clemons, ejected. Ridiculous. So many penalties. Every single week, it was a dumb penalty. Every week. And it wasn't just Clemons. Javon Kinlaw and Micheal Clemons, it was a complete circus with those two last year up front on that defensive line. Every week, not only would they make bad plays, miss tackles, not, clog gaps, set the edge, and Micheal Clemons, all that stuff, right? Kinlaw was nowhere to be seen last year. But it was also the dumb penalties both of those players took. Clemons being one of them every single week. I remember tweeting out your weekly Micheal Clemons penalty. So this player preview is a lot of bashing Micheal Clemons, but being frank, I have no belief in him. I have zero belief in Micheal Clemons turning into anything. And look, I hope this coaching staff can prove me wrong. I hope Aaron Glenn and Steve Wilkes really are able to get something more out of him. Even if they do, though, this is it for him. He's not coming back. There's no chance he's a Jet next year. Obviously not a first-round pick, so he's going to hit the open market once this season's over. And we're going to look back on Micheal Clemons' time, even if he is improved this year. But Micheal Clemons improving is like Micheal Clemons playing at a below-average level this year would be a massive improvement. He's one of the worst defensive ends in the league. If he just plays at like a slightly below average, that is actually considerable progress. So that's the point. Even if Clemons is better this year, how much is that actually helping you? Because Micheal Clemons being better really isn't hard to do, which with how low his standard is set, especially after last year, where he was starting every week with the injury to Jermaine, the Hassan Reddick nonsense, and just how thin the Jets were anyway with the whole JFM trade, which was a disaster. I don't want to rehash all that. We can go on for days, and then he was out there that much and he sucked. No other way to put it. So it's up to this coach staff. A lot of work to do with Clemons. And we'll see. Maybe they can get him to play at a below average league level. Maybe they can get him to play at an average level. Either way, though, I think this is our last Micheal Clemons player preview. And I don't think that's a bad thing because these last couple player previews with Clemons, even going into last year, it was excruciating because 2023 wasn't good either. 2022 was all right. Ever since then, though, it's been all downhill. He's one of the worst defensive ends in football. He's one of the worst players, arguably the worst player on this team. I have no hope. And I really don't think many Jets fans do either. In fact, myself included, you can make a strong case he shouldn't be on this team. Shouldn't be on this roster. We could make that case 2 years ago. Can especially make that case now. But I think he's going to stick around. So that'll do it. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. What are your thoughts on Joe Tippmann and Micheal Clemons entering the 2025 season? Your expectations for both those players and any other Jets takes you've got. Let me know down below. Appreciate your support as always. Stay tuned. We'll have another player preview up on Friday. Of course, we'll have a ton more content in between now and then. Appreciate you all so much. Until next time, Jets, 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 Jets.